Hey, what's up, everyone? Today, we're going to talk about the Payload e-commerce template. So this came out quite a while ago now at this point, and I just haven't had time to get to it. So today, we're going to get into it. So my hope is to really sit and discuss what the Payload e-commerce template is, as well as the plugin, explore that, see the features, see the configuration, see everything that we're going to be able to do. So what we're going to do is just look through the documentation and explore a project, and we'll see what happens here. So I'm excited to dig into this one. I guess it's been a couple of months now, maybe 3 or 4 months since it came out. So we'll probably bring out my friend Claude Code on this as well, because I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this template as possible. So really excited to dig into this one. We'll get into some code. So over on this side, I have the official documentation and as the template itself. So we'll be able to look through the code as well. But really the first thing we need to do is just create a project. I'm going to use create-payload-app to get the website template. So I'm changing my directory to my mono repo so I can post this code later. I'm going to change my project to testing payload e-commerce. And it's going to use the template e-commerce here. I'll just use MongoDB with the connection string that it generates. And it's going to update me all the way up to the most recent version. And while that's installing, I do have over here my WebStorm, which I will not show you guys because I'm just going to open the project real quick. Now I can open it, and here we go. So I'll put that over to the right side here. And so here is the README. It's the same README that's here, so I don't really need this anymore, but I'm going to keep it open because it has all of the actual code here that I want to look at. And then here I have the official documentation that we're going to dig through as well. So the first thing we can do is spin up and see what this project looks like. So ideally, this should load up with no issues. I'll use the admin panel to create my first user. All right, so that should be all loaded up. The first time always takes an extra second, so use my normal test email and password. And then I'll just set this to be an admin role. And so one thing to call out already is in the general best practice for Payload is in your users to have these roles between admin and customer. So you're using one customer collection for all of your people. So anybody who makes a profile will be added to the user's collection and then will be designated as either a customer or an admin. And you can do any other kind of editing with the role-based access control here as well. So if you're both an admin and a customer, you can have both. Or if you had a long list of other roles, you could add those as well. I'll just leave this as admin for now and look through the rest here. So this is what the e-commerce template looks like. This is the front end. Okay, so we're just taking a look. There's a cart here, so our cart is empty. So let's take a look here. So this is already kind of neat functionality that they have. So when you click on the cart, it doesn't bring you to a cart page like for Amazon, for example. It brings up a side modal screen here. So we can look and see what's happening there. We're going to go, I assume it's going to be a component. It'll be the cart. Yep, there we go, a cart modal. And it looks like if I go to the Package.json, just taking a look at everything that this has to offer. So it's got the admin bar, which I'm surprised does not show up here. There it is. So here's the admin bar, which I really need to look into. I haven't done a whole lot with the admin bar. I haven't even added it to any of my projects yet. Either way, that way you can go to the dashboard, got my email here, and then can log out. But we've got some radix here. I'm trying to see what components were used because I see sheet. Oh, I already see some errors here. What are these errors? All right, so I have some any types in here, so I would want to fix that or at least put them as something else. All right, so we're looking components UI sheet. So, all right, so it looks like we're using radix for everything, or at least shadcn or something. Regardless, we're able to see all of the components.json. There we go. Yep, shadcn, that's what I was looking for. So Tailwind, shadcn, Next.js, payload. That's pretty standard stack that we're expected now. All right, so this is our cart modal. We can look through some of these errors in a little bit. All right, so let's seed our content then. So up here, there's a few instructions, a little small. Let me zoom in for this aspect. You can seed the database. All we have to do is click that. It'll seed our database. And if I refresh here, I can then see some information and shop as well as an account. So great, we've got some items here in the shop already. And we'll look through how all of this stuff is set up, what the functionality is. This is really, we're going exploratory, kind of a survey of the land to see what exactly is in the e-commerce plugin and the template to see what we can do to make adjustments to it as well. So then we have the account, which is a standard dashboard looking thing, view all orders, which would bring us back to this orders page, which would fetch all of our orders. So then we have addresses, great. And account settings again. You can log out. There's a log out button up there. This is going to be automatically set to whatever my system preference is for light or dark mode. Great. So next step, we visited the website, head over to Stripe to obtain your API keys. All right, so let's look at the README for this. I do have Stripe, so I'm not too concerned about that, but I want to see how much I need Stripe to do this. And there's an adapter. So if we look at the code, we can go to our payload config. We got our lexical editor, great. Plugins, we'll go to our plugins, e-commerce plugin. So there's the Stripe adapter. So I don't know if there's any other adapters yet. So payment adapter, or at least none that are confirmed, but I think you can create your own. But the Stripe adapter will do what we need here. Just looking for our Stripe adapter. Maybe I just click into this. And I think support is coming later for more, but Stripe is kind of the default. So Stripe is what we get. So if I look for my Stripe secret key, so I can open this environment variables file right now because nothing is going to be private in here. And I'm not going to publish this anyway. So we've got the payload secret database company name. I should be able to edit this to be code with Nick, and then that should update elsewhere. There it is. So that was in the copyright information. That's a way to do that. Okay, so I think that's the only place that it was, but I can actually search for it. So company name in the footer, and that's about it. All right. Then can do all this stuff. What is it? nlvcodes.com, Nick, commerce. All right, and then we've got the Stripe secret key and then publishable key. So that's public, and then webhooks signing secret. But if I save this and refresh, I'm going to have some more of my information elsewhere. So I will go to Stripe. I will take the environment variable out. So you guys can't see that. Put it on a screen far, far away so no one can peek. There will be no peeking. And then on the screen in front of me, I've got Stripe. So I'm going to do what I can here to get what I need. Secret key, publishable key, and webhook secret. We'll come back to that. All right, so I've got the other things that I need though, so I'm just gonna move on. All right, so we've got our plugins. We have the Stripe plugin. There is a product collection override that is in our e-commerce plugin. And then we've got our access here. So there's admin only field access, which is the access controls for our e-commerce fields that are generated. So if we look in our admin dashboard, so zoom back out a little bit, this is what I was looking for. Let me move that. This is how I got here. All right, so again, I will figure out the information that I need later. But for now, so these are the access controls for the e-commerce plugin. So for any field that is e-commerce related here, there's going to be different access controls available because this, the products collection, I can go up to my collections. Products exists, but so I have products, I have pages, I have users, categories, and media. So the forms and form submissions is added by the Form Builder plugin. And then carts, orders, transactions are added by the e-commerce plugin. The header and the footer are globals, so those are elsewhere in our markup here. So there's our footer and our header. Those are our globals, users. We've talked about our content and our e-commerce. So the access control applies for each of these. So to show this, let's create, well, first, let me log out, and then I'm going to create a new user. So let's create a customer. Okay, this is where site admins will log into the site. All right, so we need to go to account then. All right, so there we go. So how this is set up is the admins will log in here. So this is going to be where I won't be able to log in. So this is where my admin will be logged in. And then over here, if I log in, I can create an account. And this is going to create a new payload account for me. So I can just do customer and create that account. And now I'm logged in as Nick customer. And that's about all I can see. So view all orders, I can see that, etc., etc. I can now shop for items. I can't do anything here though. So if I refresh, I can't see anything in the admin panel. So all of that is inaccessible for me. So let's see here. So for the access, we've got the access config, which is going to have admin only field access. Who can access that? So if I were to change this, so let's change this to be, instead of our admin, we can just do user, for example, and I should be able to see what's in here now. So for the admin, this is actually what I wanted to change. So I'm going to change this to customer so I can access the admin panel now. And so I can still see the e-commerce things, except for transactions that went away. Orders, I can't create anything. I can't add anything. For carts, I can create a new cart for myself. I can set purchase. I can't change the status or the subtotal. I can add an item. And so this, like, if I had access, I could do something like this. But so this I can change and add. I can't change the status though. So what this looks like is I have limited access to carts. I have limited access to products and orders. I have access to my own orders. And then if I look over here back to the plugin, all right, so this first one is document owner is checking if the current user owns the document. So that one's pretty easy. Users, I'm going to change this back to admin and get myself kicked out. Then we have this utility function to help determine if somebody is an admin user. And that's really helpful for things like these here, where I've got check role for admin. So that adds that. Then we have admin or published status. So if something is published, or if I am the admin, if there's a user and that user is an admin, then I can see if something, even if it's not published, I can see it, or if it is published, it can be seen by everyone. And so this would be something for the products. So for example, in the shop, if hat, for example, was unpublished, it would still show up for me as an admin, but as a customer, I wouldn't be able to see that because I'm not an admin and it's not published. It's essentially draft. It is a draft because that's the status right there. All right, so none of this is really specific to the e-commerce plugin. It's just payload information. So there you go. And then we can add, or this last one is giving access to only admins at that field level. So if there's a user, check if that user's role is admin. If it is, it returns true and they can access that field. So great. Perfect. So that's the plugin. Let's see what other capabilities this plugin has. So we're going to skip through all of this to get through the e-commerce plugin. I think this is going to have everything that we need here. So we've got our options here. The access, which we talked about. Addresses is different. So let's take a look at addresses. So addresses is expecting an object. And then in addresses, there's an addresses config, but we can just set it to true. So let's see what that does. So we set that to true. Now we need to log out of my customer, log in with my admin account and check addresses. So this is going to be, again, for the e-commerce things. So let's look at transactions see if there's any, none of this is real, so that's okay. I don't see any address in here. Oh, billing. So we've got the billing address. Cool. So if we do not access, so we can do address collection override. First, let me see what our address config is. So we get a collection override, a field override, and a country type. So we've got country here, but that's not a drop down. So if we go to addresses and we do something like address, we can do address fields, and we'll probably do, what is it? Fields. My guess is I would do an array, bring in the fields, and then I guess maybe do fields dot, oh wait, I do need default fields. That was right. Okay, so now, so address fields should be expecting a fields override, which is an array, perfect. And now this will keep all the default fields. If I get rid of this, it should actually, I think, get rid of all address fields. Yep, so there's no billing address anymore. So I'm gonna add those back. There we go. And then we could add another field. Sure. And then, oh, company is already there. Let's do, I mean, there's the entire collection has about everything that I need. Why not? Hemisphere. And so once this loads back up, the billing address will then include hemisphere, where they can put west or east or north or south, whatever. So that's how you would do a field there. We could also do a default field. Since this is an array, we can get the field, and then we should be able to do return field. And then instead of this access here, we can set required to true. And what we might do instead of map is we're going to filter field, if name and field, address one, sure, we'll make that required. And then if not, we can just return field. Don't think I did this right. Here, let's undo that. I think I just got some names wrong, so take a look here. We go to API, address line one, feels either. I'm just trying to do something different, okay? Maybe I need to do spread operator, which I don't need that twice then. There we go. I'm still going to get some errors, but that's all right. Get rid of that S. There we go. Okay. And now address line one. That was a roundabout way to get address line one to be required. I could do this again for more address lines is what I'm really trying to show here. So you can override fields here just by using field overrides. So I've required address line one, which will require it across the project. So that's good. Then in here, we also have, outside of address fields, the address collection override. This really wants me to add access, and I really do not want to add access. The collection override needs the arguments, so we'll pass that. And then I assume it does take an object. It does, and then we're going to pass in the default collection. Or really, we can just pass in the collection. Nope. We'll get the default collection. Again, default collection, return the default collection. I will not use access, but we can add something like, what can we add to our, we could add a new field. That's, sure, we can just add something like name, test, type. We'll do a select field that has options, which I'll just do a couple of test fields. So I think that's because I'm trying to do too much here. But if I do default collection, let's see here. Oh, okay, it gives me the example there. So if we have fields, we can then add default collection fields, and then I can add my type select options. Then this should work no problem because all the fields are there. We need to find our addresses collection, which I think is hidden. So what we can do, that's what the collection override is for. We can do admin hidden and set that to be false. We are going to group it with our e-commerce section, which brings it down to e-commerce. And if I open addresses, I can see that I have 2 addresses already available, and I can see my test here as well. So I think that might be it for addresses here. The other one being supported countries, which is not included here. Oh, that's in addresses. So if we do supported countries, needs label and values. So here we can expand this to be, oops, I wanted what that had. Do the same for Canada, and then last time here. And so this will be the only countries that are available here, which are drop downs over there. So we have US, Canada, and UK, and that's all that's available there. If I don't want to support the UK, I can get rid of that, and I can only select between the US and Canada. So let's go ahead and leave that disabled. So after addresses, we've got carts. So that's the cart configuration, which adds some carts there. So currencies. So a lot of this actually is not as set as I thought it was going to be. So we have our access. We know what our access is. We talked about it. Our addresses, we're done there. Then we have carts. So if we look at our carts, we can allow guests true or false. So if you want to allow people to check out as a guest, you can do that. So if somebody is not logged in, they would be able to go to shop, and then after they open their favorite hat, they can not add it to cart because it's out of stock. The t-shirt, so we're going to add 1 to the cart here. Okay, now I can add 2. Then I can go to proceed to checkout, and I'm a guest, so I'm not logged in, and I can see this. I can enter my email address to continue as a guest because you still need your email address to send invoices. And I can add my address, which will be the same as my shipping. So first, I think I have to add Vogel.com. I can continue as guest. And then now I can add my address. And then I'd be able to go to enter the address and then go to payment from there. So we can change that behavior or that capability. If I were to, under addresses, add carts, and I can set allow guest carts to false. And when I do that and refresh, I have no cart, continue shopping. That should bring us back to the shop page. It does. And now if I try to add that t-shirt, white, medium, add to cart, still says my cart is empty. And I see you're not allowed to perform this action. So I think if I do white, medium, add to cart, it says item is added to cart. It's not, because I'm not allowed to perform that action, which means that that toast is a liar. So if I hit add to cart, it says item added to cart is not. So item added to cart. So now we can look at the code and figure out if that's something that we can change. So this is saying that if a product and a variant have been defined, if there is a variant available, it can be undefined. But if that's true, then they can toast to success. So we've got the item added to cart. So if we don't want that, though, we would need to also check first. Then I think maybe it's catch. I haven't actually tried this before. So let's find out. If I refresh, add to cart, it still says, so maybe not. What else is there? There's catch. What we really need to see happen is we can try add item, do that, and then we can catch the error and then return. I have no idea if this is going to work. We're on the client, so I can't really await that. All right, we'll see what happens here. Error. So then comment that out. So I'm still not allowed to perform the action. So there's something that's not being errored out. So if I go to add item, this is a part of the hook. It is a promise. So this is really just something to be changed, how this is being queried here, because what's happening is it's going through with success, but really there's an error. So, and the error is that I'm not allowed to perform this action. It's a 403. I'm not going to waste any more time here, but what I'm seeing here is error handling for just the template. I'm not saying that this is wrong for the hook, because how I need to do the hook would be different. But there is no ability to catch the error here, at least as far as I can tell. Reason, yeah, it still says item added to cart, but just something that needs to be addressed. If you're using this template and don't want to allow guest carts, you'll need to change how that behavior works. Otherwise, it'll keep telling people that they've added something to their cart when they haven't. So that'll be up to you to figure out there. We can change the collection, and then there's this cart item matcher. So let's take a look. We already did one collection override. I don't need to do another collection override. They're all the same. So let's take a look at the cart item matcher and then look over here. So if multiple items added to the cart are the same, so we can re-allow guest carts. I'm going to leave that stated explicitly. So now if I add to cart, I see 1 added. And then if I add to cart again, there's now 2 added and it's the same. So this is matching the items together. But if I were to select a variant, say black, medium does not exist for black. So I add a black small. I can see there's 3 items and then a white small. Those will be separate because they're 2 different variants. So one is white, one's black. They're not combined into the same. But the 2 white medium shirts, even though I added 1 at a time, was added automatically. So that's what this item matcher is doing. They are matched by product and variant IDs only. So if you want to change that, you can do that using the cart item matcher. So this is where you can get really advanced logic. So I'm not even going to like type in an example. There's this long example here that will do this for you. So a lot of the logic is already handled in this simple use case of product and variant. But if you need more, there is more that you can use. So you've got your existing item and new item. Very obviously, the existing item is what's already in the cart, where the new item is what you're adding to the cart. So keep that in mind. You do have this option available to you to add new items or increment existing items in the cart matcher. So that's it for carts. I think that's a good place there. So now, after our carts are currencies, this is supported currencies. This should not be as difficult as carts were, but currencies, this may actually need to be an array. Nope. Default currency, we can do Great British Pound, and then supported currencies would be an array. US dollar, I think, what's the Canadian dollar? I think it's just CAD, which then this must mean I need a label, and then the symbol would be also US dollars. And then decimals, hold on. So code symbol would be dollar, but I'm going to leave it as US dollars for now. Decimals, is it a number that it's expecting? Yes. So now I support 2 currencies. Let's go ahead and add this to cart. If I look at this, I can proceed to checkout. So that's all I see there. But if I log in to my test admin, I should be able to look at my products. We've got t-shirt and hat, product details. These are the variants. These are added to the variant collection through the join table here. Then we have enable USD prices as well as enable Canadian prices. So if I enable both of these, I'll just say that this is $48.99 instead, just so it's different. And then we can change the symbol. And I think this is the symbol there. And then we got 2 decimals. If I do 3, that should be supported. And then it's got related products and categories as well. But I can publish those changes, hit confirm. Then if I look here in shop, thought I published changes, but maybe I didn't. There we go. White, medium, add to cart. And I've got all those there still. All right, so that is currencies. Oh, default currency. I don't even have that set right. So if we do Canadian, shirt should change. White, small, add to cart. I guess maybe not. So shirt is still the same. Regardless, we've got Canadian, we've got US dollar. So let's set that right. Though I am curious. So if I remove this, I still see the $49.99 price. Publish changes, product details, new variants. Here we got the preview, shop, Canadian. Make this a little bit more obvious to see. So let's clear our cart here. Weird. So if I go to payment, it's going to bring up Stripe. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to actually do any transactions here because I don't have my webhook and I don't want to try and set that up here. So this payment would fail, though I think I could do a test card or something. Yeah, so that's something to figure out for later. Gonna get rid of all that. All right, so what's going on here? So for the shirt, I have $48.99. Let's just set it to 15 just so it's completely different. Updated successfully. Refresh. The total doesn't change. Go to my shop. Price doesn't change there. If I change, let's get rid of currencies real quick. T-shirt doesn't change. Is that because it's set at the variant? is set at the variant. Okay, so if I enable Canadian pricing, we'll do $15 there because why not? Something went wrong. So we have, what was it, black large, black extra large. So if I do black extra large, add that to cart. Very interesting here. So let's go to our variants, which is a hidden table. So we go t-shirt. Oh, it's set to draft right now because I can't publish my changes. Revert to published. Firm. Let's look at what this error is. That would be helpful. Reading length. So it's something happening to an array. Options. Okay, so it's something in the validation in the product. So that's a bug. All right, then there's collection override, which we just did, the types collection override, and then options as well. All right, great. So scrolling all the way back up to the top customers, we have our slug users. I think that's all that's in here. Customers config, which, yep, just takes the slug, but it's extensible later on. Inventory, enable inventory tracking, defaults to true. So if I do inventory, we can do more with it, but let's just set this to false and see what that does, which I imagine just gets rid of the inventory. Yep, no more inventory, but we can open it up. So we can just change the field name. Inventory is what its default. We can just do quantity instead. So if I refresh, interesting. Inventory doesn't say quantity. Let's check that one more time. Inventory, field name, quantity. All right, so let's generate types before I write this down as well. But for some reason, that's just not updating in the variant at least. Yeah, so I just see inventory. But if I add new variant, still says inventory. I don't see quantity anywhere in here. All right, so let's write that down. So that was inventory payments. That's the payment methods here. We've looked at this already in some detail. You can do payment methods, products query and variants query, which you can just do as like a normal payload find query. The depth, the select, like the filter, or sorry, the select where you just pick certain fields, and then the where query that filters things out for you. So that is it for the payments config. Then we've got products, which we started looking at. We can look at in more detail here. We already did a collection override. We have the variant and then the validation, which is what I think is tripping us up in the variant and saving those. So we'll figure that out later. All right, and then orders, I imagine that this is just going to be more collection overrides. Yep, so we don't need to do any more collection overrides. Orders already exists. It is unhidden, and you can add whatever else you need. And then there's transactions. So transactions, again, is just going to be a collection override. You can also set it to false to disable transactions. So transactions can be a Boolean or an object. So you can either disable it or change its behavior. So that is all of the plugin features. We went over the e-commerce plugin. We dug into the template a little bit. There's still a lot that can be done. So it's a very powerful, very robust template. So that is a great way to get started with the e-commerce plugin. This is all stuff that you can just bring into your own project. So if you were to go in and just take out the things that you want out of this project, you could do that. The plugin is portable, so it's not just stuck in this template. You can bring it to whatever project you want to, and then just use the template as inspiration. And that's honestly what I do for most of my payload projects, is that I will use the blank template and then I'll look at the website template to see just working code. Like if something's not working like I want it to or how I expect it, I can go back and look at the website template and see how it's supposed to work, because it does have a lot of the main information that you need in order to get that done. And so that's about all I can go over with the e-commerce plugin. So in this video, we went over the e-commerce template. We looked through different aspects of what powers the e-commerce template, which is mostly the e-commerce plugin. So we looked at all of the features and functionality of that plugin. We uncovered a couple of bugs, but hey, it's in beta, so that's to be expected. Bug fixes will be fixed and patched as they are available. So I'm excited for what this is going to become. I will be revisiting this topic. I don't want to leave it here with an unfinished and really just template survey looking through the project. I want to build something. So the next time we revisit the e-commerce plugin, we're going to be building a project from scratch using the blank template and then adding functionality as we need it. So looking forward to that. But I hope you found this overview helpful. If you did, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel. That support means so much to me. And for support, you can become a member of my YouTube channel or Patreon, or even consider subscribing to my newsletter Next in Dev, where I include news and happenings from all across the web dev industry, all into one newsletter that makes it easy for you to keep up. I also have a Discord server, so feel free to join that using the links in the description. But for now, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.